Hi folks, and welcome to another video from Intensive Driving Courses NI. This channel is set up to offer advice and sort of helpful hints and tips to assist with your learning to drive, and whether you're with an instructor, friend or family, or a bit of a combination or both. And these are designed, as I say, to work additional, and they're not to change any procedures that you've already been taught. Now this video is going to give hopefully a bit of advice on speed limits on the roads. Now, speed limits should always be treated as your absolute maximum, never a target that has to be reached, but a number that can't be exceeded. Now, a lot of people sometimes will guess speed limits, assume speed limits, so hopefully I'm going to offer some ways to work them out. So, general rule of thumb, folks, in any road, with the exception of motorways, if there is consistent street lighting, the speed limit is 30 miles an hour, unless otherwise stated. Otherwise stated will be by a repeater sign. For example, on single carriageways, that could be a 40, a 50, or a 20. And obviously on dual carriageways, that can be 40, 50, 60, or on a very rare occasion, could be 20 as well. Single carriageway is generally one surface from verge to verge, or curb to curb. A dual carriageway has a central reservation. If the street lights on roads, with the exception of motorways, are not consistent street lighting, then national speed applies unless otherwise stated, and that's going to be again with the repeater sign showing the likes of 50, 40, whatever it happens to be. On motorways, now motorways are classed as special roads, and motorways basically default to national speed for your license unless a red circle sign tells you different. So an example on motorways, certainly for the first year, obviously it would be 45 on the R plates, but once you're off that restriction and you're in a car, that would be 70 miles an hour in each lane, unless a red circle sign above you or beside you stated differently. Now, when we come to the national speed symbol, which is a white circle and a black sort of diagonal band, that can differ depending on the vehicle, the road, and sometimes the license. So if you're on a single carriageway, the national speed limit sign is 60 miles an hour for cars and motorbikes and car-derived vans not exceeding 2 tons. That obviously has a 45 mile an hour first year restriction, and also on your L plates as well. But if you were to encounter other vehicles on single carriageways, the likes of vans above 2 tons, between 2 and 7.4 tons really is the maximum laden weight range, they're actually 50. And lorries, 7.5 tonners upward, they are 40. So just be careful, folks. Not all vehicles will be or able to carry the same maximum speed limit as cars. On dual carriageways, the national speed is 70 miles an hour, unless the vehicle has a further restriction through weight or seating. So the likes of commercial vehicles between 2 and 7.4, they would be 60. 7.5 tons upwards are actually 50, and bus and coach are actually 10 miles an hour less as well, so they are 60 also. Motorways, the only restrictions apart from your R plate for a car driver would be for towing, which is 60 miles an hour, and also large goods vehicles, 7.5 tons upwards. Now, other speed limit signs you may see out and about on various road types are temporary speed limits. Now, a temporary speed limit will have a red circle around it, and they are enforceable while on show. Now, just remember, some of the risks could be more to the surface, the lights, the lanes, etc., not just necessarily if there is actual workforce on the road. If you ever see a green 20, these are sometimes in residential areas, and a green ring around a 20 means a suggested maximum. All right, it's a 30 mile an hour area, but there will be some form of engineering. A wee bit more detail actually on 20 mile an hour zones. Now, 20 mile an hour zones will have a red circle, and you'll see the word zone written below it. Two things to take into account when you see that. Basically, it means the road you're driving on will be 20 miles an hour, as will any road left or right. So it's the entire area, not just the road that you're on. The other thing a zone will more than likely have is engineering repeaters, and they will be ramps, small roundabouts, pinch points, chicanes, etc. So a zone does not necessarily indicate a higher injury rates or dangers of injuries. It is the entire area, and there's engineering features as well. Now, any information on speed limits in the Highway Code, folks, can be found through NI Direct for Northern Ireland and Highway Code through gov.uk for any driving in GB. Rule 123 will always give you a table with the current speed limits for all vehicles and all roads, and from there on you'll get information on the likes of street lights, etc, etc. So remember, a bit of a recap folks, if you're on a single carriageway and there's consistent lighting, 30 miles an hour unless stated otherwise. If you're on a single carriageway and the lights are not consistent, national speed applies unless otherwise stated by a repeater sign. Dual carriageways has a central reservation, which can be a verge, a barrier, a fence or a wall, and national speed if the lights are not consistent, but if they are consistent, 30 unless you're told. Now, street lights over the last number of years have changed. A lot now are a brighter white light, which is an LED, which offers better coverage and less shadows, but there's still the same rule, which is actually rule 124 in the highway code if you want to check that out. So hopefully folks, that's been a few hints and tips just on speed limits and working them out. But remember the key point, a speed limit is your absolute maximum. It is not always the target that's safe to reach. It should always be chosen through road and traffic conditions. Okay, join us again soon folks for more videos on Intensive Driving Courses NI. Please remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell for further notifications, and enjoy the miles on the road folks. Keep safe and learn a technique which is driving safe for life. All the best. Speak soon.